Hello everyone, it's a Monday in Paris. You're listening to the Eiffel Tower podcast, but come on, you knew that already. You're probably not new around here, but if you are new around here, let me just say a few words to welcome you. This is a podcast where I bring you directly, the listener, to Paris, even if just for half an hour. And what I usually do is I usually get an interesting guest or someone who's done something pretty cool in Paris. I get them to share their take on this city. Or, indeed, like today's episode, I take someone, in this case, my wife, who's known around these parts as Lovely Lena, and, we walked from one end of the best street in Paris to the other, in the goal of making you feel like, I don't know, either that you can learn something, or that you can get some tips for your next traveling sojourn to Paris, or who knows. But for this episode, I'm going to be on Rue des Abbesses. But before we get into that, I want to talk a little bit about the sponsor of the episode. It is French Today. French Today. They do audiobooks. They'll teach you French. And if you want to get 10% off those audiobooks, go frenchtoday.com/earful8. That 8 is for August. We're in August. frenchtoday.com/earful8. And I will be talking about them at the end of the episode and explaining to you, as Camille, the voice behind the audiobooks, does, about the most important question you can ever ask in French. So more on that at the end of the episode, as well as not just one, but two emails that listeners have sent in. I like to call it Gmail around here. Hint, my last name's G-E-E, in case you want to write some email yourself. I'm going to read out two of them and a really nice review. Why do I do so much? Because it's a bit of a shorter episode today, so we got the luxury of a bit of interaction. But first, before I start the episode, I thought I'd just tell you what I got up to yesterday because, hey, maybe you feel like maybe you're there chopping onions or, I don't know, drawing cartoons, or maybe you're on a tractor in Texas and you're wondering, what's Paris like right now? Well, let me tell you what I did yesterday. So yesterday, Sunday in Paris, I'm sitting at one of my favorite coffee shops up in Pigalle. It's called KB. KB, they're not sponsoring the show, I just like them. KB Coffee Shop. I'm sitting there and my wife says, let's go for a walk. So what did we do? We got up, headed down the hill, went to the Printemps Gallery, the department store, headed to the very top, discovered there's this rooftop restaurant up there, absolutely beautiful view over the whole city and the Eiffel Tower, expensive food, but not if you get the cheap plates like we did and you don't get any drinks, but totally worth it. It's something I didn't even know it existed. I knew that there was one on the Galerie Lafayette, but not Printemps, so go and check that out, right at the top of the men's department store. Take a date there, go for a special occasion, or surprise someone, I don't know, it's really nice. Anyway, what did we do after that? We kept on walking. We went all the way along to a museum called the Jacquemart-André. Now, if you're a regular listener to the show, you'll know that some people have recommended that before. I'm thinking most recently Emma Jacobs, who did the book sketching all the littler museums of Paris. She'd recommended it to me as one of the best in the city, and I'd never been, but I popped my head in. It was two rich people who'd bought a mansion. I say rich, I mean, they must have been mega wealthy. They bought a mansion just to sort of store their artworks, and that was 150 years ago. But we went in there yesterday and took a look around. I did a little live stream in there for my Patreon supporters. A little word, if you want to support this show, sign up patreon.com/the Eiffel Tower. You'll see those kind of things fairly regularly. Now, from there, we continued, walked into the beautiful Parc Monceau, my favorite park in Paris, and if you're ever in this city, no trip to Paris is complete without it. So we're up in the 8th arrondissement now. And then we walked home. And then, despite being tired, I had this idea to do an episode walking along Rue des Abbesses, which is one of the most beautiful walks in the whole city. And I said, I'm going to bring the camera. I'm going to bring the microphone. Lena, will you come with me? And she said, by God, if this is what I signed up to in married life to a podcaster, then I guess I got no choice. And I said, well, thank you, my love. And we walked up and we started to record. So that's what you're about to hear today. Me, Lovely Lena, walking on Rue des Abbesses. And what Lena was doing is she had the camera. And so while we were talking, she was just filming bits. And she collected a lot of lovely film. And I want to say, if you want to see, if you can't imagine the things we're describing, I'd encourage you to go and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Just search for the Eiffel Tower on YouTube and you'll be able to watch this video that hopefully will come out really soon after I publish the podcast. So, sit back, enjoy. Here comes an episode from Rue des Abbesses. Thank you for listening and let's get into it. Lena.
Hey.
How you doing?
I'm great, thank you.
I was going to say welcome to the studio. We're not in the studio. We're standing on Place des Abbesses.
Yes, we are.
Which is kind of shockingly beautiful in its own right.
It is. Wow, yeah, shockingly beautiful. Why not?
We're standing right by the old metro station entrance, which is one of the Art Nouveau, beautiful, old school ones.
Yeah.
Which I understand.
Shockingly stunning.
Yeah. I understand they transported all the way up from Hôtel de Ville long ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
But that's why, it's a really old school one. And for the poor people who take the metro, the poor people.
The poor people.
By poor, I'm not talking about monetary. Hey, I'm walking here. I mean, the people unfortunate enough to take the metro to this exact stop, you have to go up hundreds and hundreds of steps because it's the deepest metro entrance.
It is deep, but thank God there's an elevator.
Yes.
So you're not completely screwed. Can I say screwed?
Yeah, you can say screwed.
I said screwed.
What I was going to say, though, is we're going to do a walk from this end to the other end where there's a little sort of treat awaiting anyone who does a similar walk. But just a quick thought from you before we begin.
Yep.
I believe this is also your favourite street in Paris.
It is. I think it's the best one.
Why?
Because it is, well, I'm a little bit lazy. It's relatively flat for one.
Right.
It's really picturesque. It's got all these like small shops and cafes. It's got different sized houses. It's not just the Haussmannian, which are beautiful in their own right. But
that's right. Houseman's not listening. You won't offend him.
No, I just think it's great. It's got a little bit of everything, and it's just so charming.
And on this
for me, this is Paris.
On this particular walk, is there anything you're looking forward to pointing out?
Well, maybe something a little bit tasty.
Okay, I
in
think
the
I know.
middle of the walk.
I think I know
maybe
where you're
if
going
I'm
with
lucky.
that one. And before that scooter runs us over, let's get on with the walk.
All right.
So as we're walking, Lena, and I notice as you're filming.
I am. This is for the lucky people at home with a screen.
So as we're walking, we're passing the small park with the I love you wall. What is your thought of that?
I think it's really cute. I mean, it's a little bit of a tourist trap. It's not, I mean, it doesn't really do much. It's just a wall that says I love you in all the different languages. So there's that. But it's a good photo op.
It's a good photo op. I think it's fun the first time.
It's fun. It's cute.
The first time. It's a
the
one-off
first time,
thing.
yeah.
And then you don't really need to sit.
No.
Although the other day I went in there beyond the I love you wall just to sit on a park bench. Very quiet. Beautiful.
That's nice. That's a good idea, actually.
But what I thought I'd say, you might be able to hear it, guys, as we're walking, is we're going to pass a lot of terraces in the evening. So we're recording this at Sunday evening. It's about,
sunset.
what is it, about 9 o'clock now?
Something like that, yeah.
9 o'clock on a summer's day. There's a lot of activity on this street in the evening as well as in the day. So in the day you'll be seeing bakeries, you'll be seeing the butchers, the fish markets, all that kind of...
Yeah, the hustle and bustle, the daily life kind of thing.
Right.
In the evening, that's when... Yeah, when you have a little apéro, just...
So what's an apéro?
An apéro is like a beverage that you have after work.
And it's short
after
for
work.
apéritif, and the French people love to say apéro.
Apéro.
Let's meet for an apéro, and that's what a lot of people are doing even here on a Sunday.
Yes.
But
it's excellent for people watching.
Maybe the best in the city.
I think so. I think it's really charming.
And one thing that I would stress to people, if you're walking as we're walking now, which is from west to east, be sure to keep an eye on your right-hand side at all the roads that go up. Hey, I'd even say go up them, because where we're passing now, which is Rue Ravignon, has a particular set of intriguing history to itself. For example, if you are listening to this as you're walking along in the street, which maybe someone will be doing, you can look up that street and you'll see all the trees if you're in the summer, or you'll see...
Yeah, it's like a big green bush.
Yeah, it looks beautiful right now. Don't know what it looks like in winter. That's the sound of an electric trottinette scooter going past. But if you go up there, that's where Picasso's studio is, up amongst the foliage. Exactly right. So this place is just crawling with history. But we're not going to go up this street. We're not going to go up Rue Ravignon. We're going to stop and look on the left at Le Vrai Paris, which might be the most Instagrammable restaurant in the whole city.
I think so. It is. They've done it well. They really have. I mean, I'm guilty of Instagramming it for once or twice.
Didn't you draw it fairly recently?
I did a little funny, just funny, cutesy drawing of it.
So a shout out to
Recently.
Lena's drawings at Parisian Postcards. Get a glimpse of her little
Thank you
postcards
very
of...
much.
Well, get a glimpse of her postcards of the city and that restaurant. They shared your picture, didn't you?
They did.
Yeah, that's
They
pretty cool.
did. I mean, what's so beautiful about it is that they have so many branches of pink cherry blossom. I don't think it's real. I don't think they ship them
It
in
can't always
all
be pink cherry
year round,
blossom.
but it just looks stunning.
Okay,
I
well, we're
wish.
going to continue. So what I'm going to do is try and capture the ambience of a French terrace on a Sunday night. Let's see what it sounds like. So, Lena, just a quick question. I'll stop you here. Do you know why it's called Rue des Abbesses?
No?
Well, neither did I, which made for a particularly uncomfortable moment in a tour I gave fairly recently when someone
really?
asked me. No, well, yeah. But turns out, even more embarrassingly, is it's the same word in English.
Oh.
Abbess.
Well, shame on you.
Shame on me.
Yes.
But Abbess is the mother nun. You know, the one who... have you seen Sound of Music?
Of course.
Yeah, so you know in the opening scene when Maria runs back late and she's been frolicking in the mountains? Yeah? And
Of course.
then there's the mother nun who
Yeah.
sings, quite a beautiful voice.
It is. It is quite beautiful, isn't it?
She's an abbess, a mother abbess.
Oh, Mother Abbess, Mother Abbess.
So the street isn't named after her, but it's named... The whole area of Montmartre was full of monastery. Well, one particular monastery.
Yeah.
And even to this day, you still see nuns walking around. And
It's true.
And this street is named after them. But the reason I stopped you here wasn't because I wanted to serenade you.
No, it's another holy grail.
That's right. We're out the front of Amorino Gelato al Naturale.
Maybe, once again, the most Instagrammable ice cream in the city.
Absolutely beautiful.
They are shaped. They shape them like the cones. They shape them like flowers.
Exactly.
It's amazing.
So we're going to go in and we're going to get one of them. They are beautiful. They're not sponsoring the show. I just think they
Not
make
at
good
all.
ice
I
cream.
wish.
Yeah, let's get in there. Bonjour, je prends 2 cornets s'il vous plaît.
Le cornet petit ou grand?
Juste petit s'il vous plaît.
Il y aura un macaron par-dessus?
Pas de macaron.
Ok.
Je suis sur un régime.
Deux petits cornets, donc ça vous fait 7,40.
Ok, merci, je paye par carte. I don't know if everyone heard the laughter. Merci. Alright, now we walk over. Tickets. Now we listen to Lena ordering first.
Moi, je prends une mixte des sorbets, s'il vous plaît. Juste une grande mix. Oui, je mets.
Moi, je prends fruits de la passion, citron vert et mangue, s'il vous plaît. Ça marche? Très bon choix. Très bon choix. Merci.
Waouh!
Bonne dégustation. Bonne soirée.
Merci. So standing here with ice creams in hand, melting quicker than a polar ice cap. Too soon? Too soon. But we're standing at the front of another point of interest, La Cave des Abbesses. It's a wine cellar with a hidden restaurant out the back.
Yeah, it looks humble. Humble enough.
Yeah, out the front there's
Out the
just
front.
6 or 7 seats. But if you go all the way to the back, there's a nice little restaurant. Cheap food.
And they have amazing planches, which is like a plate of an assortment of cheeses and charcuteries.
And not to mention very good wine. So check that one out as well, everybody. So we walked a little bit further now. For those playing at home, you know the walk shows I do for Patreon supporters?
Yeah.
Often there's some people, John D. Murray, I'm looking at you especially. Even you recognize that name, huh?
Of course.
He loves to follow along on Google Street View. So I figured anyone playing at home right now, we're walking past Rue Audran. A-U-D-R-A-N. Audran, maybe?
Audran?
Yeah, who knows?
Yeah, I'd probably say it like that.
Well, a proper name, who knows? Proper
knows?
noun. But I wanted to say a little language tip. This episode is brought to you by French Today after all. Don't forget that little discount, FrenchToday.com
sweet 10%.
earful 8. But what I wanted to say is a little language tip that I do very often. You're probably sick of it by now. But as I make a light little stupid joke, like I did just then when we were ordering the ice creams. And let me just break it down for everyone. I said, je suis sur un régime, which means I'm on a diet, because they just offered me a macaron.
And you're a slim fella.
I'm a pretty slim fella. I didn't want the macaron. I didn't want to just say no. I wanted to take the opportunity to have a little bit of a small talk conversation with them.
It's like a mini lesson as
Exactly. So I said,
no thank you, I'm on a diet. And they roared with laughter for minutes on air.
Yeah. Okay, let's go with that.
I'm going to go in and edit it to be a bit louder. But the whole point of that is, and I recommend anyone to do it, I'm sure Camille would agree, if you have a few little phrases like that, icebreakers, then get to it.
Nice cream breaker.
And I'll give you guys another one that I use all the time. To put into perspective or to paint the picture, I was in a bar the other day, I was ordering a drink, the bartender put a little slice of lemon into the top of the neck of the beer. And I said to him, que la fête commence, which means let that party begin. And,
oh my God.
And Lena's heard it so many times now. But the bartender, this is true, he laughed uproariously.
Yeah, he was very polite.
And then the point of me doing it was to break the ice. It let him know that I was a foreigner, that I wanted to have a little conversation, that it was good for a laugh.
It's true. I mean, it's actually the perfect icebreaker. It's a perfect sentence to say, hey, I'm not from here, but I'm just a fun guy.
So try that one. I've heard you say it before.
I have.
Que la fête commence.
Yeah, I'm on the train.
I don't know. By the way, I don't know
I'm
if any.
On the train. I'm on the what?
You say it when you're buying a metro ticket. But I've seen it. I don't know if French people say it. I asked my good friend Fabien to translate that exact same sentence.
You mean the Breton sailor?
Yeah, the Breton sailor.
Yeah.
I asked him about 4 years ago how to say "let the party begin," and that has been one of my.
And it has stuck.
The party hasn't stopped.
Yeah.
So we're passing now by Rue Toulouse, Tholoze. That's Z-E for any Americans listening.
Z-E.
And if you go uphill, you can see a windmill on the further up the hill.
Yeah.
It's also where Lost in
There are a
Translation.
few around.
There are a number
around this area, actually.
There's in fact the Moulin Rouge is at the bottom of this hill.
Yeah.
On the left, if you look up, so at the bottom of this street, there's a huge Space Invader. But I've done a whole episode about that, so the less they said.
So they're like mosaics, street art.
But one thing I wanted to talk about, we've been going past all these restaurants, these terraces.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people might find it hard to decide which one to go to. But you and I have maybe been to, full disclosure, we live just around the corner.
Yeah, we're very close.
Yeah, but we've been to many of these terraces, in many of the restaurants. Not much of a difference.
It's not a huge difference. They obviously have a little bit of a difference, but not massively.
Not a difference in price.
A few are more expensive,
but not
but
huge.
not like it's not a massive.
Yeah, I think in other words, if you were to order something safe and a nice glass of wine, you won't be put back too much. There's no nasty surprises. But there is a place where there's a lot of difference, and that is the bakeries.
That's true.
And that's going to be our next stop. Let's go. So something that I think is really interesting about this street is there's a number of winning baguette shops. So we're standing out in front of one, it's Alexine it's called, and there's a big sign out the front that says 4th place in the competition for the best baguette in Paris 2016.
Yeah, it's very much like on the window. This is their main source of bragging.
Even though it was 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Right? But the thing that I find really interesting is the further you go along the street, you see more and more of them have these signs because they're all really good bakeries up here.
They're all great.
But what's really hard is, like, for example, 100 meters down the street, there's one that came 3rd in 2014. And then there's one that came 2nd in 2019. And the thing...
So which one weighs the heaviest?
which is the best baguette? It's impossible to know.
I know.
What, you know?
Yeah.
What?
It's not the baguette, it's a tradition.
Tradition, there you go. That is the truth. Forget the baguette. Although, interesting little side note, if there is that sign up the front, if you find the one that won the best baguette, that means that they get to provide the bread for the president for the whole year.
I didn't know that.
Well, there you go.
Oh, I love it.
Hang around me, sister, and you'll learn a few more things.
All right.
But we're kind of coming to the end of our dusk tour. Obviously, if you do the day tour, you'll be able to go into all the bakeries, go into all the cafes. But there's a reason that we're doing this in the evening, is because there's a really cool treat at the end of the street that I think a lot of people don't know about. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh, yes, I do. It's one of my absolute favorite spots.
And that's where we're going to go now. I'll let you know when we get there, but it's a good reason for why you should watch the video, because there's no better place to be at sunset than a good view of the city, is there? So here we are, we're in the lobby of the Terrace Hotel, Terrass, and we're about to head up to the top. Have you been here before?
I have a few times
We
actually.
have been here together. But do you remember how you found out about it?
I actually found out about it via Catherine Watt.
Catherine
Yeah,
Watt?
she tipped me off.
She might well be listening.
I hope so. Hi.
That woman has her finger on the pulse of all things Paris.
She sure does.
But let's get up there and look at one of the best views. Now, we're not technically on Rue des Abbesses anymore.
No, I don't know what this little appendix street is called.
It's called like Joseph Maistre or something like that.
Ah, okay.
Irrelevant. It's essentially the carry-on at the end of it. It's an extra 1 minute of walking, and it makes everything worthwhile when you see all of Paris lit up. And if we're quick, we'll see the Eiffel Tower sparkle.
All right, go.
So we just walked through the lobby, and it's really crucial that if you're going to do this and you're not going to have a drink or you're not staying in the hotel, that you do it like you own the place. If they ask you what you're doing and you know you feel like you're getting in trouble, just say the Eiffel Tower sent you.
Ooh.
It won't make any difference to any of
Cocky.
us. But I'll take the blame
But at least
for
it's
you.
something to say.
No, but the drinks are a little expensive on the top as we step into the lift. All the way to the top floor, I
Yeah,
think.
7.
The drinks are
Seventh heaven.
The drinks are a little bit expensive up there, but kind of worth
A
it.
glass of wine is not too bad.
No, up we go. So we made it up. The music's on.
Yeah.
I guess that means it's time to party. All of Paris
It's beautiful.
out before us and kind of lighting up in the sort of twilight hour. Do you fancy a drink?
Yeah, sure, why not?
Well, that's what we'll do. Thank you very much to everybody for listening.
Thank you.
And hang around after this music here for a little bit from French Today and a little bit of Reader Gmail.
All right, cheers.
Well, there you have it, everybody. We cut it kind of short at the end because it was really loud up there, but just to paint a picture, you've got a sprawling view of the whole city looking over the Montmartre cemetery, which is kind of lovely in its own right. It looks like, you know, when you're up in Central Park in New York, I've never been to the view over it, but I've seen the pictures. When you see over all those trees and then you get the city out beyond it, that's what it looks like kind of up from that terrace hotel. Go and check it out. If you want to get a more sort of more visual idea of it, in the book club that I do, I did an interview up there with Cara Black, the crime writer, and I had, I think, maybe 6 or 7 people there with me, and we had a coffee. So it's open in the day too. Go and look at that video. It's in the Eiffel Tower Book Club. Speaking of the Eiffel Tower Book Club, the book for August is Paris to the Past by Ina Caro. I haven't started reading it, but I got my hands on it the other day from a second-hand bookshop in Paris, and everyone in the book club is already raving about it. Now, that's free to join with, what have I done? I call it a suggested $5 a month Patreon donation. So if you're thinking, hey, I value Oliver's work, then why not sign up on Patreon for it? Or if you just want to get it for free, go and do it for free. But all the walk shows I do, there's no option for free there. You got to sign up, become a member, support the show. Now, onto those emails that I got. So this one's from Kurt Zell. So first he mentions how he found the podcast. He's been here 5 times in the past decade. Not bad, Kurt. But this is the bit I really love. It says, in the recent segment about culture shock, I chuckled during the discussion about the French lack of concern about germs and their handling of baguettes. True story, I was once walking down Rue du Sèvres in the 6th arrondissement and I saw a very Parisian-looking man walking with his dog. The dog was trotting along with a baguette in his mouth. Based upon the nonchalance of both the man and the dog, I could only presume that it was their regular routine. Mind you, the baguette did have the customary piece of waxed paper around the midsection. Keep up the good work, Kurt. Ann Arbor, Michigan, USA. Ann Arbor. Thanks for the email, Kurt. That is great. I love that. A dog with a baguette in his mouth. He's referring, of course, to the episode with John Clark, the psychologist, I had in a recent episode. In fact, the very last episode, talking about how the French people don't seem to care that the edges of the baguette is flapping in the wind. And John said he was quite all right with it. So, Kurt, that was quite a wonderful thing that you snapped, or at least that you saw. I wonder if you snapped a picture. But it reminds me of one of the most Swedish things I ever saw. I used to live in Sweden, in Stockholm, and once I was walking along a bridge, and there was a dog carrying the shopping in an H&M bag. And H&M, of course, is a Swedish brand as well. And it was a very Swedish-looking man with the dog as well. And I thought, look at this. I guess it's not that Swedish, but it was kind of funny to see the dog carrying the bag. But anyway, there you go. Dogs carrying baguettes. Whatever next? Well, I know what next. We got an email come in from a Patreon supporter, and that is my favorite kind of email. In fact, it's from Jeffrey, who said, until moments ago, I was a Patreon virgin. I'm not sure what pushed me over the edge. Was it your recent podcast with Jay Swanson where you both gave tips for what you should never do in Paris? After listening to that episode, I'm now so obsessed with your advice that I just said bonjour 7 times to my Uber driver. Never mind that I'm still in Omaha, Nebraska, and not leaving for Paris until the end of September. And then he says, speaking of which, Omaha is where I draw newspaper cartoons. I'm only one of a handful of newspaper cartoonists left in the US. I'm also old school, still use pen and ink. So while I'm on a deadline, inking my drawings, literally spilling ink everywhere and ruining my clothes, I listen to the Eiffel Tower. Wow, that is a new one, Jeffrey. I love that a lot, and that is why I said it at the intro to this episode. Maybe you're drawing cartoons. By the way, Jeffrey continues, heading to France this fall for my annual pilgrimage for a cartoon festival and exhibition in which I'll take part. Thank you for all you do and help me stay connected to a city and a country that I love. So that's Jeff. His last name, Koterba? Koterba. Koterba. Look him up, Jeffrey Koterba.com. Find him on Instagram. He's a supporter of the show. That means I'm a supporter of his work. I checked out your cartoons, Jeffrey. They look really cool. Keep up the good work, and thank you for supporting this show on Patreon. You guys that do that are my favorite kind of listeners. Merci to you. Now, before we get on to French today, I want to read a review. I used to do this a lot, but I stopped because I thought it was a bit too much of the old back scratching, giving the old scritch behind the ear. What's the point? You read nice words. It doesn't really make any difference, apparently. No one really knows. But this one touched my heart so much that I wanted to share it and say thank you. It's a 5-star review from Ponzu22. It says, come for the tips, stay for the company. Oliver G is an Australian expat who loves Paris and doesn't care who knows. And you're right there, Ponzu. If you're planning a trip to Paris and you're looking for someone to set the stage for you, you quickly zero in on the Eiffel Tower podcast. You skim and catch up on past episodes where you find tips on what to do in Paris, what not to do, how to photograph Paris, how to do Versailles right, how to speak French, and so much more. After you've done all of those, you realize that you're hooked on the host's voice, sense of humor, his curiosity, and gregariousness. Whoa, gregariousness. Does that mean I can put the word gregarious next to this podcast in inverted commas now? As well as the variety and quality of his guests. You also become aware of the growing ecosystem that has, at its center, Oliver's podcast and his personality. There's a book club, a Facebook page, Instagram, YouTube, Patreon supporter circle, Paris walking tours, and the many personal friends, local celebrities, and listeners whose names and contributions become familiar and integral after a while. Oliver's great at connecting with his audience, and the letters he reads on the show prove that the connection is two-way. You feel affinity not only with Oliver, but with his Paris and his circle of friends. This is social media at its best. Informative, entertaining, engaging, free to the content consumer, but with a viable business model for the creator. I have a feeling I'll be listening and engaging long after my Paris trip. Merci, Oliver. Bonne chance. Merci, Ponzu22, or should that be Ponzu22? It's really kind that you left a review like that. Some people do look at the reviews and then they'll hopefully be encouraged to listen, but it's also nice. I've been doing this for a couple of years now to see someone who's summed it up so nicely for me. And, I don't know, you warmed this old cold heart, like I sometimes say, and made my day. So thank you very much, Ponzu, and thanks to all you guys who leave a review. What really is the most important to me, all you guys, is that you subscribe to the show. On your podcast app or on Spotify or whatever, or you tell your friends, help those numbers to grow. And I should announce, last week, record 12,000 downloads last week. The month was a record 42,000 downloads, so merci to all you listeners. That's enough of the old ear scritching, like I said. I want to get into French today, the sponsor of the show, and I'm going to teach you guys the most, I say teach, maybe a lot of you know it already, but I'm going to teach or remind you what Camille from French Today says is the most important sentence when you're speaking French. Do you know what I'm talking about? 2 words. It is et toi or et vous, and that means and you. Now let me read what she says here. Now I've taken this from À Moi Paris Level 1, so the first audiobook, the introduction. This is where you should be starting if you get it. So you go to frenchtoday.com/earful8, get À Moi Paris Level 1, and this is what you'll find in the 3rd chapter of this. And I went back to the start because I feel like it's very, very important. So I'm reading what Camille says here. She says, to finish the whole greeting routine, it is essential, not just polite, to return the question back to the person who asked it. To do that, we don't use a subject pronoun. We use another kind of pronoun called a stress pronoun, mostly used after prepositions like with, and, or for. Now I'll put this into example here. So, et toi, which means and you use it when you're using the familiar tu, and then et vous, which is the same word for the more formal version. And then the third version is you can say whatever, but et Philippe, et votre mère, and your mother, et votre femme, your wife, et vos enfants, and your children. Don't forget to ask about people and things you know are important to that person, just like you would in English. So then there's an exercise that you get the feel for practicing it, basically. And with French today, it's all about repeat, repeat, repeat. So for example, someone might say hello. Bonjour Julie, comment vas-tu? Je vais bien, merci. Et toi? You got it? And then there's exercises here. Bonjour Madame Castel, comment allez-vous? Je vais très bien, merci. Et vous? Je vais bien, merci. Et comment va votre mère? Elle va bien, merci. Et vous? Comment va votre femme? Elle va très bien. You know, you get it? Repeat the question back to them. Et vous? In fact, you can say it. I think Camille said this on the show once. If someone asks you where you live, where do you live? You respond with where you live, and then you say et vous. Just keep it. Firstly, it helps to keep the conversation rolling, but secondly, it's not just polite, it's essential, like Camille said. So another little example that she's put here, and the idea is that when you learn it, you repeat. Salut Anne, ça va? Bonjour Laure, ça va? Et toi? Ça va bien, merci. Bonjour Mary, comment vas-tu? Bonjour, je vais bien, merci. Et toi? Et toi? Et toi? So get that in your head when you guys come to Paris, or indeed if you're here. And even me, I live here and I speak French often. You got to remember that et toi, et vous. Keep that conversation rolling along. More about French today in the next episode. Camille will be in the studio soon for a full episode. But remember, FrenchToday.com/earful8. You'll get a further 10% off. And as I understand, there's 20% sale ongoing right now. So that equals 30%. Don't just think about it. Book it. French Today audiobooks. That's enough for me. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I've already told you all the things you need to do. Go and do them. And have a lovely week. I'll talk to you again on Thursday. Au revoir.